Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
Phoebe left her kids at my door once with a grocery bag and a sticky note that said, "Can you just keep them tonight?" Curtis is being a dick, and I got cut last minute for a Friday double. I was halfway through dinner, still in work boots, with inspection reports spread all over the kitchen table. The twins were 13. Tyler was barely 12. She didn't even knock. I opened the door, and the three of them were just standing there, silent, like someone had pressed pause. That was almost 10 years ago, and I still remember the way Elise looked at me. Eyebrows tight, arms crossed, like she was already bracing for me to say no. I'm Calvin, 47, insurance adjuster out of Dallas, not married, no kids of my own. Steady job, steady habits. My little sister Phoebe's the wild one. Works shifts at a pub off Harry Hines, dances when she needs the extra cash, drinks more than she should, and calls that hustle. Our parents, Clyde and Martha, are the kind of tired that settles into your bones. They love us both, but they gave up arguing years ago. Before we start, tell us which city or country you're listening from. Let's see which corners of the world we've gathered from today. Thanks. And now the story. When Phoebe showed up that night, I didn't ask questions. I moved some folders, microwaved extra rice, and set the kids up on the couch. Taryn fell asleep with marker ink on her face. Elise helped Tyler brush his teeth like she'd done it 100 times. And when Phoebe didn't show the next day, or the one after that, I kept the porch light on but stopped checking the driveway. Curtis, their dad, made good money, but was emotionally bankrupt. He paid his child support on time, direct deposit, never missed, but no birthdays. No phone calls, just numbers. And Phoebe, she was there when it was convenient, which wasn't often. I told the kids, house rules, homework first, dinner at 7, no drama. They listened. Elise would hustle side jobs and log every penny in a notebook she kept in her backpack. Taryn would sketch at the table until the pencil tore the page. Tyler asked me how to write emails like a lawyer. Kid had backbone. Our parents tried. Mom would bring over soup or $20 for groceries. Dad dropped off his old ladder like I needed it. They never talked bad about Phoebe, and neither did I. Didn't need to. The kids saw her texts. Find your own dinner. Or, I'm working late. Stay with Cal. But working late meant $2 shots and a second-round hangover. That summer in 2015, the kids started staying more and more. Weeknights blurred into weekends. I bought extra towels, cleared shelf space, added 3 toothbrushes to the cup in my bathroom. No big speech, just action. Phoebe hated that. One day I told her I couldn't bail last minute, had claims in Mesquite and Plano. She blew up, said I was choosing work over blood. I said I was choosing bills that weren't even mine. She didn't forgive me, still hasn't. By 2017, all 3 kids were keeping count. Taryn and Elise said they'd move out the minute they turned 18. Tyler, too. It wasn't drama. It was survival. They weren't asking me to rescue them. They were asking for room to land. So I got ready. I bought a 2-drawer file cabinet and labeled the folders with their names. Kept notes on school forms, bills, doctor receipts, just in case. That night, Elise asked me, "What happens if she doesn't show up again?" I told her, "Then we eat, sleep, and keep moving." And that's exactly what we did. Elise walked in first, dragging a laundry basket with one arm and balancing a laptop bag on the other. Taryn followed with 3 cardboard boxes marked books, shoes, and don't judge. I just held the door. It was February 10th, a Saturday. Cold enough you could see your breath in the garage. I remember because Elise muttered, "New chapter, same winter." And I couldn't tell if she meant the weather or the family. They didn't ask where their mom was that day. I didn't ask either. We'd already passed that point. Phoebe didn't take it quiet. The next morning she pulled up outside, window cracked, engine running like she was late for an argument. She leaned on the horn and shouted through the gap, "You think you can steal my damn kids?" I stepped out onto the porch. They're not goats. They're adults. They picked where they live. She flipped me off and peeled out, kicking gravel all over my curb. That was the last time she came by for months. Inside, I sat the twins down at the table and laid out the rules in plain English. You work or you go to school, no free rides, rent is chores, curfew's a text. If you mess up, you own it. Fair? Taryn said. That's it? Elise nodded. Feels light. That's how I knew we were going to be all right. We turned the spare room into Taryn's, gave Elise the pull-out in the office. The apartment wasn't big, but it was enough. They took to the routine like they'd been waiting their whole lives for someone to tell them where the line was. A week later, I got an email from Curtis. No greeting, no closing, just one sentence. I'll keep paying support voluntarily through June 2020. That was it. I printed it, hole-punched it, and filed it under Curtis, no drama. I'd learned to save everything. Mom called the next day asking if we needed groceries, said she could spot me $120 until her check cleared. Dad said he had a ladder in the shed I could borrow indefinitely. They came by with hugs, stayed too long, and told me to keep the peace with Phoebe. I said, I'm not fighting. I'm feeding. That was all they needed to hear. By the second week, Elise landed a part-time gig at a shipping warehouse in Addison. Started on the floor, organizing inventory, and by month 3 she was logging hours in the system faster than the supervisor. Girl worked like she had something to prove. Taryn found a volunteer spot at an arts co-op in Deep Ellum. They paid her in stipends and leftovers from donation bins, but she didn't care. She cataloged everything, sorted it by theme, color, emotion. She made it feel like a real job because, to her, it was. Tyler was still at Phoebe's then, but he started crashing on weekends. Said it was to get away from the noise. Turns out he was interning at a legal clinic 2 Saturdays a month, unpaid. When I asked why he'd work for nothing, he said, better now than in debt later. Couldn't argue with that. One afternoon, Elise held up her phone and said, Mom texted. I asked, she okay? She wants her blender back. It sat in my pantry for 2 years before I gave it to Goodwill. I made spreadsheets, one for bills, one for shared expenses, one for anything that needed splitting. I kept gas money in envelopes marked with their initials. Told them, we'll run this like a house, not a hotel. They nodded like they already knew how the system worked. Sunday dinner became the anchor. Chili, pork chops, meatloaf, basic stuff. Nothing fancy. That table turned into more therapy than anyone wanted to admit. We never yelled, but we never lied either. That's what made it work. Felix stopped by sometimes when I was on a claim. He'd text me, kitchen stocked? And I'd reply, pantry's full. Check their stress levels. He wasn't family, but I trusted him in the circle. He kept the peace when I couldn't be there. We didn't talk about Phoebe unless one of the kids brought her up. And even then, it wasn't to blame her. It was more like accounting. She said she'd pick me up and didn't. Or, she needed gas money and used my birthday gift card. Just facts. I didn't add to it. Tyler moved in on March 2nd, 2019, just like clockwork. He had a small duffel and a backpack full of binders. Said, this the rotation? We laughed, showed him the calendar, and gave him the chore wheel. He adjusted like he'd been living here all along. Curtis never visited, never called, just sent the checks. We didn't expect more, so we weren't disappointed. That's how low the bar had been set. By spring, the rhythm was locked in. Elise worked weekdays, studied nights. Taryn curated thrift store art with the same focus other people gave to medical school. Tyler came home smelling like dusty courtrooms and copied legal terms into a notebook he kept under his mattress. I kept receipts for everything: groceries, printer ink, copay slips, textbooks. If anyone ever asked who took over, the paper trail would say it louder than I could. And still, we weren't playing house. We were running one. That May, I came home late from Denton. Hail damage, roof inspection, guy tried to lie about tree damage, and found a Post-it on the fridge from Taryn. Pork's in the oven, homework's done. Elise says I suck at salad. The food was cold. I didn't care. I ate standing up in the kitchen and heard Tyler in the next room helping Elise with an email to her boss. She said, "Does this sound too eager?" He said, "You're literally asking for more work. You're fine." We weren't a Hallmark family, but we were standing. We were moving. And every kid in that house knew where the floor was. That Sunday, Tyler handed me a folded page and said, "You might want to keep this." It was his court internship offer letter, stapled to a gas receipt and his W-9. He grinned. "For the file cabinet." I opened the drawer and slid it in. No speech. Just filed it, shut it, and went to check the pork. Taryn hit the ground running after graduation. She took night classes at El Centro, then transferred to a small 4-year program in San Marcos, hated the campus, came back to Dallas and picked up where she left off, curating shows in a converted warehouse off Lamar. Her schedule was chaos, but she turned her room into a mock gallery, labeling every box of prints and pieces with sticky notes like it was a museum. Elise worked her way up from packing gear in a cold warehouse to coordinating the entire e-commerce backend for a local outdoor store that shipped nationally. She built systems no one asked for and made other people look slow by comparison. Her laptop battery died twice in the same week, and instead of waiting on IT, she fixed it herself with a YouTube video and borrowed tools from the neighbor upstairs. I told her she was going to run a business one day. She just said, "I already do." Tyler grinded at the law firm downtown, started in the back room shuffling files, moved up to reviewing case notes, then took paralegal certification night classes while still pulling full shifts. He didn't complain. He kept a spare tie rolled up in his glove box, and once ironed his shirt on my kitchen counter with a towel and a frying pan, because the apartment iron broke. I walked in, took one look and said, "You're your mother's son." He said, "Only the functional half." They earned what they had. I didn't bankroll anything beyond what I had to. I co-signed 2 credit lines. One was for Elise, $2,400, for a used MacBook, and a shipping scale she said would cut my time in half. The other was $3,100 for Taryn, so she could frame the full collection of pieces in her first official show. They paid every cent, every month, no reminders. I didn't ask for updates. I just checked the statements and filed the proof. We didn't decorate for holidays, never had time for it. Thanksgiving meant folding chairs around my kitchen table and 1 pot of chili or pulled pork depending on who was working. Christmas gifts were socks, fast-charging cables, a printer someone bought used off Craigslist that ended up lasting longer than mine. One year, I gave Tyler a pocket scanner, and Elise got me one of those calculators that prints the tape. I still use it. At work, I kept my head down. Stuart, one of the partners, pulled me aside after a claim in Richardson, said, "You don't stir mess. That's why we're putting you on the dirty ones." He started handing me cases with obvious liars, storm claims with fake receipts, commercial property owners who set fire to their own drywall and called it faulty wiring. He said, "You watch patterns, Cal. That's what we buy." I knew what he meant. Back at home, we were humming. Not perfect, just steady. Taryn would fall asleep with headphones on and forget to set her alarm. Elise once ran a bath and then started troubleshooting code in the next room until the water overflowed. Tyler left court documents in the fridge. We laughed, cleaned it up, kept going. Phoebe drifted off the radar. Word was she'd taken a server gig off Northwest Highway and was still dancing on weekends. A guy named Rick or Ronnie, nobody knew for sure, was around sometimes. Then wasn't. I didn't go looking. The kids didn't either. Nobody said her name much past 2019. She stopped calling. They stopped asking. Mom and Dad stopped spotting her around then too. Mom's blood pressure shot up, and she started getting dizzy spells. Dad's knees gave out so bad he could barely get off the porch without a handrail. They said they were staying neutral, but neutral meant silent. And silence, most days, sounded like surrender. I didn't blame them. They'd played referee long enough. Tyler started picking up little things for me, nothing big, just kept his ears open. He flagged a contract from a roofing vendor that had mismatched license numbers. Said, "This smell wrong to you?" I checked, and sure enough, it was a front for a buddy network trying to double bill. That kind of catch saved us 6 figures. He never charged me. I bought him a used road bike he'd been eyeing. He said, "I'll pay you back." I said, "Call it square." He still tried to Venmo me twice. I declined both. By the summer of 2022, they were ready. Not because they wanted to leave me, because they'd built enough to go. Elise found a clean one-bedroom near Bishop Arts with decent water pressure and a busted lock she fixed herself. Taryn moved into a duplex in Oak Cliff with a painter who smelled like turpentine and baked sourdough every Sunday. Tyler went minimalist. Studio by the DART line so he could park less and walk more. Said he was investing in his knees. Sunday dinners shrank to twice a month, sometimes just one. I didn't push. Empty chairs didn't feel like losses. They felt like returns. I still kept the calendar, still texted reminders when daylight saving hit, still bought paper towels like we were feeding an army. Habit takes longer to move out than people do. But the house was quiet in a way that didn't ache. It settled. One night, I was reorganizing the file cabinet and realized I hadn't added a single receipt in over 6 weeks. That was new. I'd gotten so used to tracking everything: gas money, textbooks, co-pays, phone bills. I didn't realize the silence in the drawer meant peace. Elise came by that week with a 2-pack of USB drives and said, "Back up your files. You've got all our stuff in here." I handed her the drawer and said, "You trust me with your credit reports but not your essays?" She grinned. "You got the better printer." We didn't do a big celebration when they left. No goodbye party, no last supper, no framed photo on the wall. We just moved furniture, swapped keys, and updated the utility bills. I stood on the porch that last night with my coffee, looked out at the same street, same mailbox, same sky, and thought, we did it. No payback, no IOUs, no drama. Just 3 grown kids who knew what a stable house felt like and carried that feeling into the world with their own names on the lease. That was the win. I got home with a plastic container of leftover tortillas, a stomach full of lime rice, and a folder under my arm like it was a legal document. I dropped my keys on the counter, kicked my boots off, and stood at the kitchen table just staring at the cover. It said, "Anchor Fund," in Elise's handwriting, neat, square letters. Taryn had drawn a little anchor next to it like it was a logo. I opened it. Again. Even though I already knew what was inside. Health bucket. Home bucket. Rest bucket. $9,200. Split into conditional releases tracked by the twins. Tyler called it a mutual accountability structure. I called it a trap with love in it. There was a section for receipts, a section for notes, and one page labeled Cal's Boundaries Pact, which I'd signed at the table with a pen that leaked all over my palm. I still had a blue smear across my hand when I went to brush my teeth that night. The rules were simple. No one-off requests. Use the money or they'd bug me. Provide proof or they'd withhold the next chunk. Talk to a therapist or they'd reassign the funds to a prepaid grief retreat in Colorado, and Elise had already picked the brochures. They were serious. I stood in the kitchen, folder open, air conditioner humming, and realized my hands were shaking just a little. Not from fear, just from the weight of it. The kind you don't notice until you set something down and feel your back go straight. I took a photo of the folder on the table. Nothing fancy, no caption yet, just the image. The cover, the file tabs, a half-drunk glass of water beside it. Then I opened my phone and started writing a thank you. Short, plain, a few sentences about how I didn't deserve it, but appreciated it. I didn't hit post yet, just saved it to drafts. Around 9, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, but local. I answered. "Calvin, this is Mara. We met tonight. Tex-Mex, birthday dessert, salsa napkin detail?" I laughed. "Right. You run the college outreach thing. You caught me mid-draft. Of the thank you post?" "Yeah. They built this whole binder and said I have to send proof for everything. Sounds like they know how to run a board meeting. They should. I raised them like accountants. Well, it looked like a moment, and the food was solid. You handled the attention better than most." I sat down on the edge of the bed and scratched the back of my neck. "Honestly, I felt like I was about 12 when I stood up. My voice cracked. I thought no one noticed. We all noticed. We all. But nobody cared. There was a pause. Then she added, "You still need a mentor gig? I told you, I'm not a teacher." "You're not. You're a structure. Most people never had one. That's enough." She wasn't flirting. She was assigning. I liked that. I said, "Let me think on it." "You've got until Tuesday. We start intake next week." Then she hung up like a woman with things to do. I smiled, stood up, walked to the kitchen. Before I went to bed, I heard the front door creak. Tyler had a key and always came back after everyone else. He dropped off a grocery bag with some protein bars and 3 rolls of quarters for laundry. I caught him on the porch as he was leaving. "You didn't have to do all this," I said. He looked at me for a second, then said, "Yeah, we did. Because you never would." That stuck. I slept in a little the next morning, made black coffee, and opened the binder again just to double-check it was real. Still there. Still signed. Still leaking blue ink on the margins. Felix texted around 11. "You post the thank you yet?" Drafted. "Post it. They earned it. I will." He sent back a thumbs up. Then 5 seconds later, "Also, the gym membership they prepaid? Use it. No excuses. Fine. You're on the books for Wednesday at 6. Don't be late." I didn't reply. I knew he'd see me walking either way. Sunday afternoon, the kids came by again, this time just Elise and Taryn. They wanted to finalize accountability, which meant handing me 3 labeled envelopes: health, home, and rest, each with instructions taped inside. Taryn flipped open her iPad and said, "Physical's got to be scheduled by the end of August. Therapist sessions can roll into fall, but the intake has to happen before October." Elise added, "The trip? Any state outside Texas. Must include 2 nights and 1 non-refundable booking to force commitment." I said, "This is a lot." She smiled. So were we. They stayed for coffee, left just before sundown. I stood at the sink, watching the taillights roll out of the driveway, and thought about how they used to leave bikes tipped over in the grass. Now they just left structure. Grown-up structure. Around 9, Mara texted again. "You post it yet?" "Doing it now." I opened my drafts, chose the better photo. Wrote, "Got handed something tonight that made me feel like I'd done something right. Not a check. A plan. Built by the 3 people I'd do anything for. Appreciate every word and every moment that led here. Posted it at 8:15 p.m. on Monday. Exactly. I didn't check for likes. Didn't tag anyone. Just turned the phone face down and let it be. 30 minutes later, the first ping hit. Then another. Then another. But that's not the story. That's the next part. I didn't expect it to turn into anything. It was 2 photos, 3 sentences. 1 shot of the folder on my table, another of the first page that said Anchor Fund in Elise's handwriting. I kept it simple. A short thank you and what the folder meant. That was it. Tyler texted, "You finally hit publish." I said, "Yeah." Felt weird. He sent back a thumbs up and nothing else. Overnight, it rolled quiet. Likes from neighbors, a couple of old co-workers. One guy I hadn't seen since the roofing seminar in Tulsa said, "This made me want to call my dad." Felt clean, steady. I figured that was the end of it. Tuesday morning, 7:20 a.m., I had a direct message. Name lit up like a ghost. Phoebe. 8 years since I'd seen that name on anything but a forwarded bill or a medical junk ad she never unsubscribed from. Her message was short but loaded. "Saw your little post. Looks like big money. We should talk. I miss the kids. They miss me too. Maybe you could grease the wheels." I just stared at the screen. No greeting, no apology, no mention of anything real. Just a reach out wrapped in guilt and bait. I left it on unread and put my phone face down. At 9:30, she called. "Don't hang up," she said before I could get a word in. "I just want to talk." "You're talking." I saw the fund thing. I know you got something set up. I need help. Health stuff. Legal stuff. Life's been rough. I kept my voice flat. You need to talk to them. Not me. Call with an apology. No ask. No strings. That's not how family works, Cal. You don't just throw people away. You don't shake people by the ankles to see what falls out either. Oh, so now you're the gatekeeper? You think just because you gave them a roof, you own them? No. I think I showed up when you didn't. That's different. She called me selfish, said I was turning her kids against her, said she'd always known I wanted to replace her. The call ended with her yelling, "You'll regret this," and hanging up so hard I could hear the phone slam even through the line. I didn't say a word. I just sat there, phone in hand, coffee going cold, and stared at the blinds. At noon, my work line lit up with 3 internal transfers, one from reception, one from admin, one from compliance. Someone had called the main firm line claiming I was under investigation for misappropriating funds from claimants. The complaint was anonymous, obviously fake, but it got logged because that's protocol. Reception said, "Just giving you a heads up, Cal. You've got someone trying to kick your knees out." I didn't ask who. I knew. Stuart called me in around 12:30, shut the door. "You got a problem I need to know about?" "No." "You take any money that wasn't yours?" "Never have. Never will." He looked at me, flat-eyed, lawyer mode. Then he said, "I believe you. Still, document everything. We don't play casual with this. I'm already on it." "Good. Stay ahead of it." I walked back to my cubicle, pulled open the file cabinet, and started printing. I didn't prep because I wanted to fight her. I prepped because if she was coming, I wasn't going to get caught sloppy. I had a printed email from Curtis that said, "I'll keep paying support voluntarily through June 2020. I had screenshots of texts where the kids agreed to share timeline info. I had my own receipts, book copays, dentist bills, phone payments, meal cards from when Taryn's job fell through. I didn't need sympathy. I needed a clean timeline. At 2:45, I texted Mara. Me. "If I wrote something up, you mind reading it?" Her. "Depends. You posting to vent or to clarify?" Me. "Clarify. Straight timeline. No adjectives. No drama." Her. "Call me." She picked up before the first ring ended. "Here's the rule," she said. "Line up dates and proof. State only what's already public or agreed on by the kids. No dunking, no sarcasm, no flame bait. You're not winning the internet. You're just holding your line, I can do that. And once you post, hold your ground. No back and forth. No comment war, I'm not new at this." Good. Then act like it. After we hung up, Felix dropped me a message. "You breathing?" "Barely." "Stick to the old rule." "You mean the no wrestling in the dark thing?" "Exactly." Flip the light switch and let her blink. By dinner time, I had the whole timeline laid out. 2015, first overnight. 2017, twins move in. 2019, Tyler follows. Every key date, every school shift, every bill, every letter. I clipped the Curtis email on top and used yellow tabs on anything the kids had reviewed. Around 6:10, Tyler called from the steps of the county building. Said he was in between filings. "She called me too," he said. "What did she want?" "Money. Of course, told me to talk some sense into Uncle Cal." "What did you say?" I said, "If you'd handled your business, we wouldn't be here." Then I hung up. She threatened to ruin my career. I figured she might. We've got your back. She's going to say it all went through me. She can try. We've got dates, paper. Our words match. There was a pause. Then he added, "If she smears you, we'll handle it." "Don't flinch." I didn't reply right away. My throat felt too tight. He waited. Didn't rush me. Then I said, "Thanks, kid." He said, "You're not the kid here." When I hung up, I felt something settle. Not peace, but clarity. I sat at the kitchen table, opened the folder again, and flipped to the tab labeled Verification Uncle use only. It had a checklist Taryn had typed with boxes for each fund release, and a line that said, proof of use required. No exceptions. No emergencies I didn't need to defend myself. I just needed to show the truth and stand still while it spoke. At exactly 6:05 Thursday night, I posted the thread. Title: Answering Family Questions with Dates and Receipts. Simple, straightforward, the kind of headline that either calms the fire or pours gasoline on it. I didn't care which. I was ready for both. The body of the post was just what Mara made me promise. A timeline. No fluff, no adjectives. Every line started with a date and ended with a fact. I blurred out names and addresses, linked photos of paperwork, printouts, receipts, screenshots, even one photo of a sticky note on the fridge from 2016 that said, dinner at 7, homework first. Before I hit post, Mara called me and said, add a comment rule header. Top of the post, no exceptions. What kind of rules? Short ones. Facts only. Keep it short, no labels. You'll thank me. She was right. I added it in bold and hit submit. 10 minutes in, Phoebe landed in the comments like a pipe bomb. She didn't ease in, didn't ask questions. Her comment said, he harvested my kids for his own legacy. Now he's harvesting their funds. They were manipulated. I was blocked. Curtis cut me off because of Calvin's lies. I was the mother. I still am. The replies came fast, some from people who didn't know either side and just wanted chaos. But others came from accounts I knew. People who'd seen this all unfold for years. And then came the kids. Taryn commented first. 2015. Mom said she'd pick me up from a community workshop. I waited 3 hours. It started raining. I walked home. Uncle found me halfway down Garland Road, soaked and shivering. He didn't say a word. He just turned the heat up and handed me a towel. Facts, no caps, no rage, just facts. Elise posted next. 2016, I turned 15, got $60 in birthday cards. Mom took it for a bar tab emergency. Told me to be resourceful. I sold my art kit so I could pay my prepaid phone bill and still submit my school project. Uncle drove me to the pawn shop. He bought the kit back later. Facts I had to stand up. Couldn't sit still. Tyler followed last. 2018, senior year. Tried to bring Mom to a financial aid meeting. She laughed in front of her coworkers and said I was trying to act like her dad. I went alone. Uncle helped me fill out my FAFSA at his kitchen table with a used laptop and a flashlight because the power had gone out. Facts, that one hit me in the gut. I remember that night. The damn storm knocked out everything and we sat at the table with a Coleman lantern, filling out forms by hand. Tyler never complained once, just kept going. Phoebe didn't answer those comments directly. She pivoted, dropped a new comment underneath mine. Calvin took money meant for our family. He's using my kids to build his image. He never loved them. He just loved control. 2 minutes later, Elise posted 4 screenshots of the Anchor Fund contract. Release conditions. My signatures. Payment verification tags. Clear as day. Taryn added her own photo. My signature on the boundaries packed, the list of conditions, and a line she wrote herself. Use it or we'll apply interest. No exceptions. Facts. And Tyler followed with a screenshot of the co-signed credit statements. Balances, due dates, all paid in full. One page said it all. Closed account. Balance, $0. He captioned it. We asked him not to post these unless it got ugly. He's only doing it now because of a smear campaign. Let's be clear. No one owes him. We just know who built the floor I stepped in once. Just once. We're done at 8 p.m. tonight. After that, all accounts blocked. We're not here to scrap. This is documentation, not drama. Mara made me write that line ahead of time and keep it in notes. I copied and pasted it exactly like she told me. And she was right. It worked. The trolls went quiet. The noise started to thin out. Then, right in the middle of it all, someone from the pub where Phoebe worked decided to stir the pot. The account name was the manager's, Todd or Tom, something smug, and he tried to tag my employer under a post that said, Should insurance adjusters be held accountable for financial abuse? I didn't flinch. I replied with one sentence. Conflict check. I recused myself from a commercial claim at your address on March 3, 2025. See attached email to my boss. I posted a screenshot of the email I'd sent Stuart that day with the subject line, recusal request, personal ties. Stuart himself liked the comment from his private account and left one word under it, logged. Best laugh I'd had all week. Phoebe posted once more, a long rambling comment about how I'd weaponized their pain and shut her out to play hero. But the timing was off. The screenshots already did the damage. The receipts had already been posted. The thread capped out just before 8 p.m. Thousands of views, dozens of reposts. I didn't count. I didn't care. I posted one final comment at the bottom. Thread closed. All replies will be locked. All accounts in this thread are being blocked at 8:01. Anyone who needs documentation can contact me directly with ID and a reason. We are done here, Elise messaged me 2 minutes later. You good? I wrote. Better than good. Tired, but good. Then Tyler messaged. She's gonna spin it again. Be ready, Taryn added. She always thinks the last word wins. But the truth doesn't need another round. They weren't scared. They weren't even angry. They were just solid, grounded. That's what got me. They'd learned not to swing. They'd learned to stand still and let the wind blow itself out. At 8:03, I blocked Phoebe and every new burner she tried within the next 5 minutes. One of them used an old childhood nickname in the handle. Another posted a photo of her and the kids when they were small with the caption, "What you stole." I didn't respond, just hit block. Block. Then I opened the file drawer one more time, slid the Curtis email into a new folder labeled July 2025, Family Thread, and shut the drawer with one clean push. Friday morning, my phone might as well have been a blender on high. 19 missed calls between breakfast and lunch, all from numbers I didn't recognize. Some Dallas, some out of state, cousins I hadn't spoken to in a decade. One woman claiming to be a second cousin on our mother's side, and 2 different guys who called me brother like we ever shared anything but bad timing at reunions. I silenced the whole thing, shoved it in the drawer, and opened Outlook like it was a shield. The twins didn't call. They didn't need to. We'd already said what mattered, but our parents stayed quiet too. No calls, just one text from Mom that had a single red heart and, "Call me when you want. Not urgent." That's her version of support, soft but pointed. Dad sent a photo, an old aluminum ladder in the corner of his yard, paint peeling off one rail. Caption, "Yours?" That's his version of the same thing. By 10, I heard the familiar knock. Tyler, 2 short raps and 1 fast. He didn't even sit. Just dropped 2 sealed envelopes on my desk and leaned against the file cabinet. Cease and desist, addressed to any party alleging fraud by Calvin Prescott, he said. Second one's a template you can send to anyone calling the firm pretending they have authority. I opened the first. Legal letterhead, short and stiff, looked expensive. We're not suing your aunt, he added. We're just making the standards clear. You always this efficient before lunch? I'm billing another client for the morning. You're on the house. I grinned, tapped the folder edge, and said, You're a good man. He raised an eyebrow. I had a decent example. After he left, I stared at the phone again. 5 new calls. Voicemail blinking red like a slow heartbeat. I didn't check it. Felix swung by just after 11 and made me get up. No debate. Just walked in, said, Bring your shoes, and steered me toward the stairs like I was a toddler in timeout. We walked around the block, past a guy pressure washing a driveway, and an old woman spraying her rose bushes with vinegar water. Felix didn't talk until we rounded the corner back toward the lot. You're wired tight, he said. I can see it in your jaw. Feels like I'm waiting to be hit. Then don't tense. Move with it. Let the swing miss. He clapped me on the back hard enough to jolt something loose, then said, Don't spike the ball, Cal. Just cross the line like you meant to. When I got back to my desk, there was an email flagged urgent from Curtis. For half a second, I almost trashed it. The subject line just said, RE:2019 letter, confidential. I clicked. Inside was a scanned PDF, dated February 12th, 2019. The letter was short, formal. Curtis had written to Phoebe, offering to pay for family therapy. 6 sessions minimum, fully covered, with a therapist near her job. The only condition, she stop asking the kids for cash during the process. At the bottom, in Curtis's small, exact handwriting, if this is refused, I will remain out of future matters to avoid escalation. He'd copied me on none of it at the time. But now, there it was. I texted the kids and asked if they wanted to see it. Taryn showed up at the office first, hair still damp, clay on her hands from a workshop. She read the letter in silence, then said, "It explains a lot. Doesn't excuse it, but it explains it." Elise came next. She read the letter twice, then nodded and said, "Let's not post it. Not unless she tries to drag him too. We don't need extra heat." Good instincts. They weren't out for blood, just clarity. Tyler showed up last, took the printed copy, and slipped it into a manila folder marked noise. He'd already started labeling things like that, made his own subcategories, claims, comments, spam. He was running this like a case file. Meanwhile, one of Phoebe's friends, or maybe Phoebe on another burner, posted online that I'd been reported to the Texas Department of Insurance, claimed I had pending ethics violations, and that the firm was scrambling. I didn't even bother responding. 5 minutes later, Stewart walked over, sticky note in hand, slapped it on my monitor with one sharp press. It read, "We called the board. Nothing filed. You're clean. Document this and go home. That's why I work where I do. No theater. Just process." At 3:55, Mara texted me. Her, "How's your pulse?" Me, "Fast." Her, "Try this if you need it." "We're not hiding. We're done. Short is strong." Me, "Saving it." She sent back a thumbs up and nothing else. I wrapped the last report for the day, emailed Felix a claim note he'd asked for, and drove home in silence. No radio, no podcast. Just road and thoughts. Got inside, pulled out 3 eggs and a skillet, and stood there in the kitchen like I'd forgotten how to function. Took me 5 minutes to remember how to turn on the burner. Made scrambled eggs too salty and ate them anyway, standing up straight from the pan. At 6:12, I heard the front door open. Elise and Taryn came in with a rotisserie chicken, green beans, and that frozen mac and cheese with the crumbs on top. Tyler followed with a new folder, held it out with a little smirk. He'd labeled it in all caps, "Noise." He said, "It's alphabetical. Easier to sort the BS that way." I opened it. Inside were the 2 letters from earlier, a copy of the therapist offer from Curtis, and the draft of a response to the ethics rumor. Taryn handed me a Post-it with 1 sentence on it. "The only power a lie has is the noise you give it." I stuck it on the fridge next to an old receipt for brake pads and a photo of Elise with safety goggles on from her first warehouse job. Nobody said much during dinner. Just plates and clinks and the sound of normal. And when they left, they didn't hug long or linger. They just cleared their plates, grabbed their bags, and Tyler said, "We've got more in us than we thought." I said, "I always knew that." He gave me a look like, "Then why'd you doubt yourself?" I didn't answer. Didn't need to. Saturday came in heavy, like a storm you don't see on the radar but feel in your knees. Around 1, the kids knocked on my door like it wasn't theirs anymore. Polite, not casual. Elise had her laptop, Tyler had a legal pad, Taryn carried 2 mugs like she already knew I hadn't eaten lunch. "We're calling her," Taryn said. "Speaker only." "You don't need to say a word." I nodded. No questions. I just sat down at the far end of the table and opened a notebook I didn't plan to use. Taryn put the phone on the table, hit dial, and leaned back like she wasn't about to drop a bomb. Phoebe picked up on the second ring. Taryn started, voice flat and steady. "We'll meet in person. But first, 2 conditions. 1, 8 sessions with a counselor we all agree on. 2, a written apology. No excuses, no spinning, just ownership, and no money talk for 90 days. There was silence on the other end for 5 solid seconds. Then Phoebe said, "I have medical bills. I've got a fine I didn't see coming. I need 10 grand to keep a roof over my head." Tyler leaned in, pen already out. "Then send us the bill number and the court paperwork. We'll look into it. Deadline's Monday." "I'm your mother," she snapped. "You're really making me jump through hoops like I'm some stranger?" "No," he said. "We're making you do what we do every day. Prove it." "I cannot believe what he's done to you," she said, voice rising. "He turned you into cold little robots." Tyler didn't blink. "Mom, we're adults. He didn't turn us. You lost us." You could hear it land like a chair falling over in a quiet room. Then Elise spoke up, not loud, but straight. "Do the sessions. Write the apology. We'll meet for coffee. Neutral spot. No setups. We want a mom. We just don't want debt." Phoebe's voice came back sharp. "You're recording this, aren't you?" Taryn didn't flinch. "We're not. We're keeping notes." "That's different," Tyler added. "Monday. Send what you said you have. If it's real, we'll help with a plan, but no one's handing over cash. That's done." There was a pause long enough to make me think she hung up. Then she said, low and bitter, "You'll regret this. All of you." And the call cut out. Nobody said anything for about 10 seconds. Then Elise closed her laptop. Taryn picked up the mugs, and Tyler grabbed the phone. That silence was earned. They didn't spike the ball. They just stood up like a meeting had ended. 10 minutes later, a Facebook post went live from one of Phoebe's old drinking buddies. Same predictable garbage. Calvin cleaned out the kids' accounts. Puppet master pretending to be a parent, Elise didn't wait. She posted the Anchor Fund ledger in full. Her initials were beside every single condition. Timestamps, distribution logs, the release schedule, all in perfect order. Taryn posted the clause she wrote into my contract that required at least 4 sessions before any holiday invitations. She added, "Because he hates holidays," and still agreed. Tyler posted next, just one line under a scanned doc. "We asked him to accept help. He resisted. We insisted. Stop lying about him. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about truth with structure. It was about saying we don't owe silence anymore." That night, I got one last text from Phoebe. "You happy now?" I didn't answer. Neither did the kids. Sometimes the best reply is nothing. No quote tweet, no retort, just space. Let the words hang where they fall and walk away. The porch light was still on when my phone buzzed again. Mara. I picked up and didn't say anything right away. She said, "Not calling to pump you up. Just making sure you didn't combust." I didn't. Mostly, you did what you said you'd do. No labels, just facts. That's rare. Yeah, well, I'm tired. You hungry? I thought for a second. Then I said, "Yeah." That surprised me. "Go try the taco truck off Jefferson. Red salsa, not green. You'll live." She hung up before I could argue. That's her style. I stood there for a second, staring at the dark driveway, then went back inside, grabbed my keys, and got in the car. The kids had left a sticky note on the fridge that read, "If she sends fake bills, we'll handle it. If they're real, we'll still handle it. You don't have to." And underneath it, in Elise's handwriting, "You already did." By Sunday morning, the only thing Phoebe hadn't tried was a skywriter. She dumped a string of half-baked comments under my post, stuff like, "He never raised a soul, just collected them," and "You think money makes a man, but it's love," which would have landed better if she hadn't deleted them one by one the second people asked for proof. By 11, she'd blocked me. By 1, the kids, too. We didn't chase her. Just watched her dig herself into the same pit she always did, this time with her own shovel and a flashlight. Cousins who'd called me greedy 2 days earlier started crawling into my inbox with apologies dressed up like nostalgia. "You know how families are," one wrote. We overreact. But I'm proud of what you did, I didn't reply. Not out of spite, out of maintenance. If I went around patching every busted fence, I'd never sleep. Some people like to watch the fire. Some like to fix the wiring. I don't have time for both. Monday morning, Stuart called me in before the coffee even finished brewing. He shut the door, leaned against his desk, and said, "This isn't a performance review. I just want you to know the partners saw the thread, saw how you handled it. Appreciate that. It wasn't a test, but if it had been, you'd have passed." Then he held out a manila folder. "We're starting a mentorship pilot, just internal. Documentation, ethics, accountability. We need someone to lead the new hires." I flipped the folder open, saw my name typed clean on the header, and said, "Is this where I say no and pretend I'm humble?" "Nope. This is where you say yes and act like you've been here before." That kind of question is a yes. So I nodded and took the folder with both hands, like it weighed more than it did. Lunchtime, Mara showed up with 2 turkey sandwiches and a flyer folded in thirds. I raised an eyebrow when I saw the college logo. "Starting line program," she said. "We need people who've paid a bill, clocked in on time, and eaten bad gas station food without complaining." "I'm not a teacher." "You're not. You're an adjuster with receipts." "That's better." I stared at the flyer. She added, "They listen when you don't sell them something. They see the boots, the busted phone screen, the face that looks like it's done real work." I smirked. "You saying I look rough?" "I'm saying you look qualified. Try 2 sessions. I'll try 2. She leaned in. "Try 4. We both grinned like idiots. I took the flyer. Felix came by later and tossed a protein bar on my desk. "Eat that, and for the next 2 weeks, boring workouts only." Define boring. Walking, stretching, sunlight. Nothing that raises your heart rate above mild irritation. Adrenaline debt is real. Did you make that up? Nope. But I could have. I popped the protein bar open and kept reading the folder while he sat across from me. Around 4, I got one more surprise. A short follow-up from Curtis. Subject line, support. Inside, 2 lines. "If she sues or harasses again, my attorney will represent you and the kids at no cost. This has gone on long enough. You handled it." Never thought I'd read that from him. The man spent 15 years letting his checks do the talking. But life's weird like that. Some people don't show up till the lights flicker. Some wait until someone else gets hit to raise their hand. Just before quitting time, the pub where Phoebe worked tried again. Their account posted something vague about delays in our fire claim due to unnecessary conflict of interest. Subtle, but tagged my company name. Didn't last long. Stewart had already emailed their regional manager 2 months ago with the recusal file from March 3, 2025. The claim was reassigned to an out-of-county adjuster. File number included. Post was gone before dinner. That night, I fell into bed like someone had pulled the plug. First full sleep I'd had in over a week. No 3 a.m. wake-ups, no imaginary depositions playing out in my head, no mental math of timelines and screenshots. I woke up just after 7 with my face pressed into the pillow and a hunger that made my stomach growl like a busted generator. I made eggs. 3, not 2. Salted, peppered, no toast. That's how I know I'm okay. 2. Fridays later, the door opened without a knock. Taryn came in first, holding a basil plant in a chipped pot like it was a baby. "For your window," she said, setting it near the sink. "Use it or kill it. Either way, it's yours." Elise followed with a foil-covered dish she swore wasn't store-bought lasagna, though the container looked suspiciously store-shaped. Tyler brought salad, lettuce cut like puzzle pieces. Mara walked in behind them with a box wrapped in brown paper and a smile that said she already knew where I kept my forks. We didn't make a big deal out of anything. We just moved around each other like people who knew where to stand. I set the plates. Elise reheated the food. Tyler opened a soda and drank half before remembering to offer anyone else. Dinner was easy. No updates, no retreads. Just bites and laughs, and the kind of pauses that don't feel awkward. Halfway through, Mara slid a page across the table toward me. Typed. Clean. Titled at the top in bold, "Final Checklist of Boundaries." She said, "If anyone pokes again, here's your script." Short, clear, and you can't mess it up. Felix would have called it fire drill prep. I called it smart. The list had 6 bullets. No cash to Phoebe. All help goes through plans. No public clapbacks. Talk to kids first. Document everything. Go on your trip. I looked it over and nodded. It was everything I'd had in my head since 2017. But seeing it typed made it feel like I'd finally installed the roof on a house we built in pieces. Taryn handed Mara a little frame that said, "Welcome to our chaos." It was our family joke, printed in crooked script. Mara laughed and set it on the bookshelf next to a photo of the 3 kids sitting on the steps of my old apartment. No one told her to put it there, but it landed right. Near the end of dinner, Tyler cleared his throat. That move he does when something needs to be said and no one wants to say it. "I emailed her," he said. "One last offer. Counselor names. A coffee date if she finishes the sessions and sends a real apology. 2 months. Then we're done." He wasn't angry. Just finished. Like someone closing a file and sliding it into the drawer. The landline rang during dessert. Mom and Dad. We put it on speaker. Mom said, "Lasagna looks dry. You should have used more sauce." She always says that. Dad said, "Turns out the ladder wasn't yours after all. Neighbor's grandson left it behind. Looks just like yours, though." We all laughed like people who'd finally stopped bracing for a blow that never came. After they left, I walked Mara to her car. She carried the brown paper box like it was nothing. I asked, "You think I should take the trip?" She said, "Yes. Go to New Mexico, rent a little place. Do nothing loud." I nodded. "Thinking October." She smiled. "I've got a week off around then. I'm good at doing nothing loud." We stood there for a beat. Then I asked, "You want to stay?" Kids got me a cheap coffee grinder and never let me unbox it. She said, "Only if I can write the thank you text." We went back inside. The kids had left a post-it on the fridge. "Use the fund or we'll add interest. Jerks. Good jerks." I poured 2 cups, unboxed the grinder, and set Mara's frame on the end table where I'd see it in the morning. The house felt full without feeling crowded. And that was enough. If someone in your family kept crossing lines like Phoebe, would you set firm boundaries or give them another chance? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you liked this story, hit subscribe and like. It's just 1 click for you, but it means everything to us. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment saying the story was good or share your thoughts. It really supports the channel.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.